So from 2019 to 2021, right about when my son was born, there had been a period of time where I had this mystery illness and full body pain that could never get diagnosed. I spent so much money on doctors and specialists trying to figure it out. But basically it put me very immobile where I couldn't work out, I couldn't do any exercise, or I would get these really bad muscle pains and flare-ups, and I would just be on the couch in just miserable pain. I would wake up super depressed. And so I went through a period of a couple of years. I had been fairly active for most of my life, but I went through a period of a couple of years where I couldn't do anything. And there's days where I just stayed on the couch. I would just binge watch shows because I just needed to distract myself, because I was, for the first time ever, like legitimately struggling with dark depression and asking a lot of scary questions in my mind and confronting a lot of things. And yeah, it was some really dark days and no physical activity. So in 2022, a friend invited me to the Ironman event last May. It's been about a year now. And actually didn't know hardly anything about triathlon. I barely knew that the three events were, that it was a swim, bike, run, barely knew that. But I had no idea really about triathlon. But he invited me out. I went and checked it out. Actually went to Keystone Lake and saw the athletes go through. And what's cool about it, what struck me, is that you see elite athletes go by, then you see like the super athletes or whatever, like the really great athletes. But then after that, you start seeing there's a lot more that are coming through that look just like me. And there's ones that look even maybe perhaps more out of shape than me, but they're still doing this. And then you go to the finish line and you see they're still coming across after putting in 16, 17 hours that day, and is actually incredibly inspiring, more than I expected. And my friend who invited me didn't know that I already had some things bubbling up in me that was looking for some ways to challenge myself, and I was kind of already ready to look for something to sink my teeth into and to try. And somehow he talked me into considering doing an Ironman event with no experience. I didn't even own a bike. I didn't know how to swim. I couldn't run more than 2 miles. But yeah, there's something about that day and that event, watching those people come through, the hundreds of them, that was very inspiring. I found this book about seniors who they're in their 70s and they're doing marathons and crazy adventures, and all this like started like giving me some hope of like, what if somehow I can get past this, break through, figure out like how to get past my sickness or whatever. And at the beginning of 22, I started getting better. I don't know why. Mysterious. It was like 2 years, and then it just started slowly getting better. And by the time Ironman came around, I was starting to feel like, hey, maybe I can buy a bike and start doing a few miles here and there. Sometimes the universe lines up right, and like you have the right motivations and the desire. Like my son, I wanted to inspire him. It doesn't have to be an Ironman, but I want him to be like, wow, my dad did something that was totally, for him, that was crazy. Like he didn't believe that he was really gonna be able to do it, or he didn't necessarily see it happening, but he was able to do it. So maybe that opens up dreams for him, or challenges or mental blocks for him, that he might be able to pursue something. At least that's what I hope, going into it. David Goggins planted this thing in my mind, like, what if you've never ever tapped into your potential? What if there's so much more within you, not just physically, but in your mind? What if it's really about the mind holding you back? And it doesn't have to be about Ironman. Like maybe it's just like whatever it is in life, maybe there's something that's holding you back, and then maybe the key is unlocking the mind of, maybe you just gotta put some time and discipline and some effort into it, and maybe things that you didn't think could happen, maybe they could. And that's kind of like how I feel like this is culminating. That's what this is. Like, I'm not qualified to do an Ironman. There's a rule called the rule of thirds that I heard a coach share that said, A third of the time you're gonna feel okay, a third of the time you're gonna feel awful, like you should just give up, and a third of the time you're gonna feel great, like you could just conquer the world. And so I try to keep that perspective, that a third of the time you're gonna feel like you should just quit. And I had at least a third of the days that were like that. You gotta have some healthy fear in you, no matter who you are and how hard you trained. At least for the commoners, athletes like me and myself, and like the non-pros and non-elites. Yeah, I think you have to have some healthy fear for Ironman. There's certain things that are in your control, but there's a lot of things that are outside of your control. And there's a lot of things that you just have to roll with. And so on one hand, I find that you kind of go through, it's like every day you go through different emotions. Some days you do have the fear of wondering, like, am I going to be able to even, am I going to be able to finish? What if my training wasn't enough? I have all these doubts and questions. And another big one for me that I go through too is that it's actually been one of my most difficult ones is comparison. You get on, there's this app called Strava where everybody uploads their workouts to, and you kind of like other people's, runs and bike sessions and all that stuff and swims, and like or you watch people on Instagram and what they're posting, if you follow other athletes, and you're just like, wow, I put in this much work, but I'm still like way slower than this person, or way less achieving than this person, or just like comparison, man, has actually been incredible. Like I've made leaps and bounds many times where I was starting from zero, from scratch to where I am now. It's amazing what the body's been able to do, but still I get caught in this trap of comparison, and it steals my joy. It steals my sense of accomplishment and my pride, and just makes me feel like I'm never going to be enough, And I've really tried to wrestle and journal with that, about those feelings of like, there's always somebody gonna be, it doesn't matter. I could literally get twice as fast. There's still gonna be people that are faster than me out there. I can swim twice as fast, and there's still gonna be people, like, you're never gonna get there. So it's a pointless exercise to go through. And so there are a multitude of factors, of whys or of reasons why I wanted to do this. I say definitely for Ash, my little 2-year-old, he's one of them. Also, for anybody else that's watching, if they, like I was inspired by watching the ones last year to come through, maybe there will be somebody who's new to watching Ironman this year, who's just watching it to support and doesn't dream himself. And maybe him or her, maybe they'll see me struggling towards the back of the pack, and they'll be like, hey, if that dude can do it, then maybe I can do it, as well too. And it's not just about Ironman, but hopefully the inspiration's there for anything difficult, anything that is possible that's just in your mind, just holding you back, It's also for myself, honestly, to celebrate the fact that this journey where I've come, I came from a really, really dark place, and from really realizing that I'd taken my physical body for granted, like just to be pain-free every day. That's actually a really big deal to me, to wake up now and not feel like you don't want this day to even come. Like, just to wake up and feel like a breath of fresh air. I'm okay. I'm not in pain. It is actually huge to feel like I can go out and do like a mile jog, no problem. Like, that's kind of mind-blowing to me, where I was for a couple of years. And honestly, I didn't believe. Part of the depression, snowball, was I didn't believe I would ever get out of it. So success, as far as this Ironman 1-year challenge, superficially it looks like going out and having a strong day where I minimize all the things out of my control. I'm well prepared, I execute, and I have a relatively good time for me. That's a superficial version of my success. And I think that's probably, in my mind, that's probably what success looks like a lot, until I dig a little deeper and hey, wait, it's a little bit bigger than this. Like, go back and remember where you were a year ago, where you couldn't swim, you were scared to get in open water, and where you were just glad to be not in pain, and where you're glad to be able to see some like brightness and colors in the world again from coming out of a depression for 2 years, and like see some hope in the world, and like, no, go back and remember where I was. I didn't own a bike, and now I feel confident. I know I can do a 112-mile bike portion, this Sunday. Like, it's intimidating, but I know it's possible if I'm smart about it, and if I do it like I trained. And so like when I stop and think about all that stuff, it's like, even if I didn't end up doing the race, yeah, it's been my own little miracle, or my own little impressive story, successful story, I would say, just to get to this point. And so, yeah, I have to kind of dig deep in, like, kind of maybe, again, I've been trying to journal about this stuff because I realize there's a lot of emotions, a lot of things going on, and I want to get everything I can out of this. The hundreds of hours that have been put into this, blood, sweat, and tears, and sacrifice, not just in me, but also Ash and Alyssa, and Alyssa has been so understanding, and knowing that, sometimes I have a 6-hour bike ride on Saturday, and then I come back and I got to like take a shower and then just like rest for a few hours, and like need my own private time. So it's like kind of the whole day is like all about training. And so it's been a big sacrifice in many ways, but she's been super supportive in that. And I think it's just gonna accumulate in being like, whenever I can get close to the finish line, I don't know if it's the last mile, but as soon as I'm seeing downtown and getting close within eyesight, all of a sudden, I think I'll forget all the pains and what's feeling in the immediate, and I think it's just all gonna come like, this is closing this chapter. Like, I think the emotions are gonna come flooding, because I remember how it was even on the half Ironman. Like, I remember the emotions welled up very strong, and I think we're both gonna be emotional mess of happy tears, hearing the words, the infamous words that you look forward to hearing is, somebody calls out, Austin Lindsey, you are an Ironman.
36 years old, guess where he's from? Of Tulsa, of course. Austin Lindsey, you are an Ironman. Well done, Austin. What a great day out there.
Like, that's the moment. Boom. The chapter's closed. You can just let it all go. Whatever happens, like emotion-wise, and just see Alyssa there and Ash at the finish line, and just kind of collapse into her arms. Yeah, it's gonna be emotional for sure.